This is DRF Race of the Day.
Hi everyone, David Aragona here with Craig Milkowski to discuss Saturday's race of the day for the Daily Racing Form. It is the Grade 2 Raven Run, Race 9 at Keeneland. 13 3-year-old fillies signed on to go 7 furlongs on the dirt, and it's a very competitive, large field of runners, horses coming out of some Grade 1 races for top connections. A lot to dissect in this race, Craig, and not really sure where the public is going to go. I do think, though, the number 13, Obligatory, likely to take some money, but she's one that will be at the mercy of the pace because she does like to come from off of it.
Yeah, this drew a really good field. Not surprising, just 3-year-olds. I think a few of these even. I'm surprised they're not taking a shot in the filly and mare sprint. Maybe they will. Who knows? But it would be a short turnaround. So good, strong field of 3-year-olds and pretty wide open, as you say.
Yeah, Obligatory in particular is one that I would have thought might fit well in that Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint, but I guess they're ducking Gamine, as many would be likely to do, and they're competing against their own age group in this 3-year-old restricted Raven Run, instead going that same distance. We'll see if Obligatory is going to get the pace setup she needs. We take a look at the Timeform US pace projector for this race. There is quite a bit of speed signed on. We'll see who decides to go, who doesn't. But Craig, no surprise in a field this large that the pace projector is predicting a fast pace.
Yeah, because as you said, we do have some speed horses signed on, and just the sheer field size actually adds a boost because obviously the more horses in a race, the more likely things are to be contested early. So no argument with the pace projector here, and it does look good for Obligatory.
Got a lot of contenders to talk about in this race. Let's start with a replay from Saratoga of 2 horses, Scylla and the Super Sensational, both coming out of this Prioress, a Grade 2 event at the beginning of September. And Craig, watching this race, I thought that Super Sensational at the mid-stretch marker looked like she had it won, but she just doesn't seal the deal, and Scylla gamely comes back on her inside to beat her.
Yeah, I remember watching this race thinking it was a done deal. Super Sensational looked like she was going to go right on by, but Scylla was able to dig in. I don't know if it was that ground loss around the turn that maybe kicked in, but Super Sensational just didn't have that kick. She had run some pretty good speed figures, running second to Bella Sophia in the test. So I'm not sure what to make of her. I was actually surprised by the morning line. I thought Scylla would be a little bit lower than the 8-1 she is, but the morning line maker actually has Super Sensational at 4-1, I believe, which is the second choice in here. So a little bit puzzling to me, but I think the races, that's where you want to start. They were 1-2 in a Grade 2 race last time out.
Well, I kind of get it because Scylla, looking at her prior performances, is a horse that just never gets that much respect. She was let go at 10-1 last time out in that Prioress when Super Sensational was the 4-5 favorite, and the margin between them was pretty slim. So I'd imagine the public might bet it along similar lines this time. And clearly, Super Sensational comes from the more well-known connections going out for the Mark Casse barn. You know, Scylla, she's a little bit light in the speed figure department. As we look at the PPs for Super Sensational as well, at least Super Sensational has that big speed figure 2 back when she was second to the very good Bella Sophia in the test. This is a horse, Craig, that just has really improved ever since they turned her back and have focused on sprint distances. She had that big winning effort 3 back in the victory ride, and I think if she gets back to one of those 2 speed figures, she's a major contender in this race.
She is. She had that pattern where she was developing like you like to see from a 3-year-old. She was improving every time out. And then she had that regression last time. Maybe it was the trip. I mean, she was a horse I remember picking back in either the Fairground Oaks or maybe I think it might have been the Rachel Alexandra where I really liked her. And she just didn't handle the distance. So I think the turn back to a sprint has helped her a lot. And it just is, how much do you think she can bounce back off that last effort? And I say that bounce back from a speed figure perspective because she still ran second in a good race. She just tailed off a few lengths on the numbers.
Another horse that's going to bounce back or have to bounce back off a seemingly poor effort is the number 8 Caramel Swirl, who was pretty disappointing last time, losing as the 3-5 favorite in the Charlestown Oaks. Now, Craig, she had run a big speed figure 2 back at Saratoga when she won that allowance race, going the same 7 furlong distance very impressively over the good Amendment 19 and put a big distance between the rest of the field that day. But I know you want to talk a little bit about her last race at Charlestown. We actually had a replay of the stretch run of that race. I know you want to mention what happened early in the race, though.
Yeah, I was actually there that day, and you see Caramel Swirl in our replay coming into the stretch 3 wide, and she was basically there the whole way. They rode her really hard into the first turn. She wasn't able to make the lead. The rail was really good that day, as it often is at Charlestown, and she just got hung wide on the turn. And the thing for me was it made me question that 115 speed figure. We're looking at the chart now. She actually ran a 113. It shows this 115 due to weight adjustment. And I wondered, did I go wrong there, or was it just a bad trip caused the regression? And looking at the chart makes me think it was kind of that tough trip she had at Charlestown, because when you look at the horses who have run back, they've all run very similar speed figures. Even the 4th place finishers come back to run a much better number. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that speed figure from the time before. It was just a tough race over a track she wasn't familiar with. As I said, she was 3 wide into that turn, and the pace figure was huge for Charlestown. It was in the 130s. So I'm giving her a pass there and think she's going to be a strong contender here.
Yeah, she's a difficult horse for me to figure out. One concern that I do have about Caramel Swirl is that she's been successful when she's been right on top of slow paces, both 2 back. I say a slow pace, but it was a moderate pace in that allowance victory that we're looking at in the chart. And also when she broke her maiden at Keeneland earlier in the year, again, she was kind of right on top of the slow pace. I wonder if she's a horse that can adapt from coming to farther back, though I do agree with you, Craig. She was against the track last time at Charlestown and might be able to bounce back, getting on a conventional 1 mile circumference dirt course at Keeneland. Let's take a look at the horse that I do think is going to be the favorite in this race, Obligatory, who's drawn all the way on the outside, the number 13. She only has those 2 victories to her name, but I think she's run well in a number of Grade 1 events, particularly in the Acorn 3 back when she was second to search results. Let's take a look at the stretch run of that Acorn, because she was really flying in the late stages. She was in a position at the top of the stretch where she really wasn't supposed to be competitive because they didn't go that quickly up front, but she kicks it into another gear in the final quarter mile here.
Yeah, she really does close fast. She, as you see, she kind of went off the screen. She was so far back as they zoomed in on the leaders, and she was absolutely flying that last furlong, and only the wire saved search results, because another few strides, and I think she'd have had her. So big effort from her. I think she's done absolutely nothing wrong. When you look at her past performances, she ran big that day in the Acorn. She had prior won the 8 Bells at Churchill on Derby weekend. I believe that was on Oaks Day when she got that fast-paced setup. But since then, things just haven't gone her way. She ran in the test behind ultra-impressive Bella Sophia. That one is a speed horse who just ran away from them, setting a moderate pace. She didn't break well that day, and the race was basically over for her. Last time she tried 2 turns in the cotillion, she ran well enough, but it was another race where I think she found herself in an uncomfortable position up close to a slow pace. And it's just a distance I don't think is her best. I think the 7 furlongs is perfect. And if she gets the pace that we're expecting, she's going to be really tough to beat in here.
Yeah, I think Obligatory makes a lot of sense in this race for all of the reasons that you mentioned. And coming off those slow paces, I do think she's going to get much more pace to close into this time. And that could just make the difference for a horse that appears to come into this race with the best class lines. There is another horse that I do want to mention. I know, Craig, that you respect this one as well. That's the number 11 Miss Speedy, who's coming in from Canada. Let's take a look at her last race when she won the Duchess Stakes, going the 7 furlong distance, but doing so over the Tapeta course up north. This is a horse that has a lot of early speed. She can tend to want to run off a little bit early in her races, but she does also have plenty of talent. And Craig, the horse that's running second to her here, Og Lutz, she came back and she actually won a race on the turf at Belmont in her next start and looked really good doing it. So I think Miss Speedy's been keeping some pretty good company up in Canada.
Yeah, that was an impressive performance at Belmont the other day. It was in a turf sprint, as you say. Oftentimes, Tapeta and Surf, they're not interchangeable, but they can transfer that form. So Miss Speedy, that's the thing with Tepeta. They can just as easily go to dirt and run well. We've seen that a few times in the past already at this Keeneland meet. She's got the speed figures to compete. My one concern with her is she does seem to be kind of a runoff. She's a horse that has to have the lead, and I'm not sure she's going to be able to get it in here. They don't go as fast on Tepeta. She's going to have to go a little bit quicker, but she's going to be a nice price, and she has a good post position. So it wouldn't surprise me even if she doesn't make the lead, if she's stalking in second or third and still runs a good race. It's just kind of an unknown at this point how she'll handle the dirt.
Yeah, those character traits of getting a little bit too rank early in her races, they concern me as well. But I found a couple of stats for Miss Speedy that make me want to give her a long look in this race. So we saw that DRF formulator screenshot. Her sire, Super Speedy, actually wins with 32% of his dirt sprint starters. I know he's a sire that you think of as competing mostly with his progeny up in Canada on that Tepeta surface, but Super Speedy himself was a dirt horse and has had a lot of success with dirt horses among his progeny racing on that surface. And also, Miss Speedy's trainer, Mark Cassidy, you see this DRF formulator fact, over the past 5 years, going synthetic to dirt with last out winners, he's 7 for 24, an ROI that's well above $4. And Mark Cassidy has good stats all across the board going synthetic to dirt. That's one of the strongest stats for Mark Cassidy. And I think it's really meaningful that he does well with last out winners within that stat, because it means that when horses are doing well, he runs them in top level dirt races, and they typically translate their form. So I think Miss Speedy is very interesting in this race. We'll throw up our picks for this one, and you can see I did go for that Mark Cassidy trainee, the bigger price of the two, that Woodbine shipper, the number 11 Miss Speedy. Not sure exactly what kind of trip she's going to work out, Craig, but at least she's got the outside post position, so I'm hoping that she can just stalk outside. But the number 13 Obligatory, who we both have second, she's clearly the horse to beat. You took a small shot against her as well.
Yeah, I took a shot against her. I think she's going to get bet a little bit too heavily for my legs. For a horse who's going to be a deep closer, she can win, but that's always a concern for me. The more I watch Caramel Swirl, the more I hated the trip that she got. And it was no fault of the rider. She just, a really fast horse, was able to beat her to the rail and keep her off of it. So I think she's going to rebound nicely in here and run a big race, but just a really, really good betting race. And I think we chose right in this being the Saturday race of the day, because it's the one I'm looking forward to the most.
Yeah, a lot to dive into here. And as the Saturday race of the day, remember, you can get free DRF formulator PPs on DRF.com for this race if you want to do a deeper dive yourself. So I took the number 11 Miss Speedy in this Raven Run. Craig took the number 8 Caramel Swirl. That's a look at the Raven Run at Keeneland on Saturday. Good luck if you're playing this weekend.